Elen, Scylla, Lumen, Omen Tielvo. Today I bring to you all the history of Numenor. The island of Numenor was raised from the sea by the Valar after the War of Wrath as a reward for the three houses of the Edain for their loyalty and hardships in Beleriand. Many of the Edain would follow Elros, son of Earendil, to Numenor. By the 32nd year of the Second Age, the Edain following the star of Earendil would discover Numenor. The kingdom of Numenor was established, and Elros became the first king, taking the name of Tar Miniator, which was Quenya for first king. Numenor would be divided into 6 regions: Andustar in the west, Forustar in the north, Orostar in the northeast, Hyarostar in the southeast, and Hyarnustar in the southwest, and Mitalama being in the middle of the island. Armenalos would be the capital, being next to the sacred mountain Meneltarma, where the Numenorians worshipped Eru Illuvatar. The rule of Tar Miniator was a long one, for he ruled for 410 years. At the age of 500, Miniator willingly laid down his life, passing his kingship to his son Vardamir. However, Vardamir was very old at the time of his ascension, so he in turn passed the crown down to his own son, Tar Amandil. Thus started the tradition that the king would pass the scepter down long before death. In the year 600, the first Numenorian ship returned to Middle-earth, re-establishing contact with the elves and the men who remained in Eriador. During the time of Tar Elendil, the title Lord of Andunier would be created, a title given to his grandson, Valandil, as well as an heirlooms such as the Ring of Barahir. This was done as Tar Elendil's heir, Meneldor, was his third child, but first son, and the laws of Numenor acknowledged males as heirs only. Meneldor's son, Aldarion, would become one of the most famous mariners at this time. When Meneldor became king, Aldarion's constant seafaring caused some tension. Aldarion created the Guild of Venturers, and he would sail off on many adventures, and he would establish the first Numenorian ports in Middle-earth. Tar Meneldor would disapprove of the guild and the voyages, as well as Aldarion's treatment of his wife Earendis. For more on that tale, check out my video down in the description. In 883, Aldarion returned from a voyage far later than he had promised, much to Tar Meneldor's sadness and Earendis' disdain. Aldarion brought with him a warning from High King of the Noldor Gil-galad about the rising darkness in Middle-earth, and Aldarion's aid in preventing it. Tar Meneldor would thus step down as king, giving Aldarion the throne, believing his son better suited to this task. Tar Aldarion would change the law of succession, allowing for his only child, a daughter, Encalame, to become the first ruling queen of Numenor. Decades and centuries would pass by in Numenor, with the people prospering with their long lives and glorious cities. At last, though, the shadow in Middle-earth revealed himself, Sauron, the Lord of the Ring. War broke out in Middle-earth, and Gil-galad asked for aid from Numenor. His friend Minastir, the nephew of the ruling queen, would send a great fleet of ships in 1700. and in the battle of the Gwathlo River, Sauron was defeated by the combined Numenorian and Elvish forces. It would be soon after this that a shadow fell upon Numenor, for deep in the heart of Tar Minastir was an envy of the elves for their immortality. Tar Minastir would give up his scepter, not entirely of his own volition, for his son, Kiriatan, desired power. Under Tar Kiriatan, Numenor began to develop colonies on the coastlines of Middle-earth, oppressing the men that lived there. The shadow truly took hold of Numenor during Tar and Tanamir's reign, for now the people openly expressed their envy of elven immortality. The Valar would send emissaries explaining that mortality was a gift to men, but Atanamir would not hear it, and he spoke against the ban of the Valar to sail west beyond Numenor. Tar Atanamir held on to his throne until old age at last claimed him, thus breaking the tradition set by Vardamir. Tar and Kaliman was like-minded of his father, and here the people became divided between the king's men, those who broke away from the old traditions and spoke against the Valar, and the faithful, those who still practiced the old ways. Soon the elven tongues became forlorn and nearly forgotten, save for the kingly names still taken in Quenya. Numenor's decline would continue as Numenorians became more and more cruel, taking many colonies such as Umbar and ruling the Haradrim evilly. The Numenorians would battle Sauron for influence in the south, and Numenor would prevail. When Ar-Adunakor took the throne, many traditions died, as he was the first king to take his name in Andunaik, the language of Numenor, rather than of Quenya. The faithful were dismayed, as Adunakor's name meant Lord of the West, a title belonging only to Manwë, Lord of the Valar. The rule of Ar-Gamilzor was one even crueler than Adunakor's, for any use of the elven tongues were banned, as too were the elves, and those that welcomed the elves were punished. Ar-Gamilzor removed many of the faithful from Andunie to Romena in eastern Numenor. Many of the faithful would leave Numenor and set sail for Middle-earth. The ways of the faithful were all but done, practiced only in secret by a few. Hope was not lost for Numenor, however, for Ar-Gamilzor married a woman in Zilbeth who was of the faithful, and their firstborn son carried the ways of his mother. When he became king, he took the name Tar Palantir, restoring the practice of taking a name in Quenya. He also began tending to the white tree, a practice his father abandoned. Tar Palantir foresaw that if the white tree withered, so too would the line of kings. Tar Palantir's repentance was not enough, however, for the people of Numenor rebelled still, their fear of death leading them to support the kingsmen. The long lives of the Numenorians shrank drastically over the years, leading to a greater fear of death. Tar Palantir would live his days in sorrow, at first because of the treacherous actions of his brother Gamilcad, but then because of Gamilcad's son, Pharazôn. When Tar Palantir died, his daughter should have become the ruling queen, but Pharazôn usurped the throne, forcing Miriel to marry him and becoming the 25th king of Numenor. Pharazôn abandoned the traditions, except tending to the white tree, as he feared Palantir's prophecy. Trouble would occur in the colonies of Numenor, for Sauron attacked them, and he proclaimed himself Lord of Men, a title that greatly angered Pharazôn. So he set sail with a massive host, and landed in Umbar, marching his soldiers all the way to Mordor. There, Sauron surrendered himself to Ar-Pharazôn, for his servants had abandoned him. Ar-Pharazôn brought Sauron back to Numenor as a prisoner, but soon Sauron began to deceive Ar-Pharazôn, and in 50 years Sauron went from prisoner to Pharazôn's highest advisor. Sauron began telling lies to Pharazôn about Melkor being the true creator and how the Valar had stolen immortality from the men. And so Ar-Pharazôn, descendant of Eärendil, turned to Melkor worship. The people of Numenor would join their king, and human sacrifices would be made in a temple erected for Melkor. Many faithful would flee or else be sacrificed. Amandil, lord of Andúnië and leader of the faithful, would stay in Numenor, however. Sauron would convince Ar-Pharazôn to destroy the White Tree. When Amandil learned of this, he told his son Elendil and grandson Isildur. Isildur would go out in the night and steal a sapling from the tree, an act that nearly killed him. The tree was destroyed the next day. Finally, old age was coming upon Ar-Pharazôn, and so Sauron told him to attack Valinor and take immortality from the Valar. And so, in 3309 of the Second Age, the Great Armament began. Amandil would sail for Valinor, not to wage war, but to warn the Valar of the coming attack. Amandil was never heard from again. Great clouds in the forms of eagles would come and warn the Númenóreans not to pursue their course of action. Ar-Pharazôn, however, would not listen to the warnings, and in 3319 he set sail. His fleet would arrive in Valinor, and he and his men stepped foot on the Blessed Realm. But here the Valar called upon Ilúvatar, and he set a mountain upon the men, trapping them forever under the rocks, not to return until the Dagor Dagorath. Numenor itself faced its own destruction, as Ilúvatar brought the island down to the bottom of the sea. All were swept away by the wave, even Sauron, though the Dark Lord had survived. The faithful, led by Elendil, however, did not perish, as a great wind took the 9 ships he had and pushed them to sea, saving them. Elendil and his sons Isildur and Anarion would sail to Middle-earth and created the realms in exile of Gondor and Arnor. This was not the only remnant of Numenor, however, as the king's men occupied Umbar in the south, and they would continue to serve Sauron in the centuries to come, just like how in Gondor and Arnor they would oppose Sauron. But so ended the history of Numenor. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, feel free to like and subscribe for more content, and please let me know how I can better improve these videos. Thanks, and as the elves say, Namarie.